So we're live streaming, but I don't see anyone here that has joined us. So we are going to go. We have some technical issues today. Let me. Hey, Howard.
Hey, it's great to see you.
Good to see you. I just wish everybody else could see us because I was trying to do the live stream for the rap session, but I don't know if we're showing up and for everyone. So let me double check before we get into it. Okay.
I think I can go to the agenda.
Oh, okay. So Kenya says it's
It says stream is
working.
live in 1 minute. It says stream is
Okay.
live in 1 minute. Your hair looks amazing, by the way.
Well, you know what? Let me tell you something. I've been getting lots of compliments, and this is like, I mean, I agree. I mean, it looks better than it has been looking, but that just goes to show you how terrible I have looked like for the last week
Stop this. I need you to
because
stop.
I'm talking about a hot mess. Okay, so let's see. Let me check with Kenya to see
Mhm.
if we're on. We had some technical difficulties during the 3 o'clock hour. We had a couple of
Mm.
sessions that Zoom wasn't cooperating with, so we will double check that. Anyway, so how was your session? What did you guys talk about?
It was good. We had a lot of see. The conversation around staffing is so broad but it's a lot of the same issues that keep showing up, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's just completely different, and people don't understand that you can't go into this industry thinking everything that crossed over from the other industries is going to work, because it's
Right.
not. Because it's not.
Right. Right.
And people also have to understand that if you want to get into this sector, you got to really actually know what you're doing, and
Mm-hmm.
and pay your dues.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of, and I think that's the same across industries. There are a lot of people who
Mhm.
just really aren't, just inherently aren't business owners. They aren't entrepreneurs. They've never done
Mhm.
it before. So oftentimes they don't understand the challenges that come along with opening and sustaining any business. But especially when you're in an emerging market like this, with the complications of legalization, and it's not, every region almost is different. So yeah, I'm going to make sure everyone's in, and then we can kind of get started. We'll recap today, and then we will give a little preview of tomorrow and give you an opportunity to talk about what your organization is doing
Mhm.
and with us. So let me
And
know if it's looking. You got to technology. You got to love it when it's working. You love it, and when it's not, it's like
I did that minor in comp sci just because I knew I needed to understand this stuff. I went from linguistics to economics, and then I was like, I need to pick something else up. And so I did the comp sci. It was probably the best decision I ever made
right.
because now I can navigate it, but also like I have phone calls of people that I can make. Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right. Let me double check. Let me go on the app, and then we shall see.
Stream is live.
It says it's live now. Are we live in Hoover? Are we live? Are we streaming for our attendees? That is the question.
Mm.
So I'm about to check it out. Let me see. It says that we're live. I'm going to go into the chat and ask everyone if they can see it and hear it, and then we'll hop into it.
I think it's still. Hmm.
All right, now I'm going to look on the desktop. So un momento, por favor. Let me see what we're doing here. and then we'll just get started and hopefully. All right, so Ernest says they cannot hear us on the app. What does that mean? I don't know. One second, guys. Because I think okay, so Ernest says he cannot hear us. Kenya says, let's see what Kenya says. She can. So I guess we will get started with the wrap up, and we will post the recording of this once we're done.
Absolutely. All right, let's
Okay.
do it.
So let's get started. So hi everybody, thank you so much for your patience with us today. Day one of the first Black CannaConference during a pandemic with the new technology, and we've had a few hiccups. But the good news is all of the content that all of our speakers have scheduled and have planned for all of our attendees, we will be on demand. So if there is a session that happened today that you were expecting to happen, it did not happen, please just let us know, leave us a note in the community, send me an email, let me know which sessions you attempted to join and you were unable to. And then we will make sure that you get the link for the recorded session once we receive it from our presenters. Okay, so that was one of the first things we talked about this morning during our kickoff. Was one of the tips I gave Hawa was be flexible. I should have said.
It's funny you say that because that's the entire foundation of this industry, and we spoke about that quite a bit on our session.
Right. Actually, we planned all of that. That's just a part of our. That's just a part of our experiment to see how patient you guys are. No, but seriously, thank you guys, everyone, for joining us today during our first day. Hopefully, by the time we get to Saturday, we'll be experts by the time it's all over with. But still, just want to make sure that we honor our commitments, that we show up at all of our session times, no matter what the technology is doing, because for some folks it's working, for some folks it is not. But I'm gonna work on this at the conclusion of today, just to make sure that tomorrow goes a lot smoother for not just our speakers who were certainly very excited to present, and if they had not had an opportunity to, I wanted to make sure that they do. So you may see a change in the agenda, but again, that's because these are speakers who are wanting to present live. Those speakers who decide that they can't present live, that we're supposed to present today, then they will submit a recording. And at the end of the session, at the end of the conference, or before the conference is over, all of our content will be available for everyone to view at their leisure. And so earlier today during the wrap session, we talked a lot about what we saw today. So we got to watch or hear from Dr. Shonda Messias. I always say her name wrong, y'all, forgive me. Amazing, our keynote, the speaker this morning, who touched on the opportunities that HBCUs have in the cannabis space. And I just thought it was a great opportunity, Howard, to bring you on this afternoon during the wrap session, because it feels like it's like a full circle conversation, because it's all about preparing young people, preparing people to be in this industry. And with our HBCUs in particular, there are a lot of opportunities that Dr. Shonda talked about that are available for developing curriculum, getting grant money for cannabis research on HBCU campuses, and just overall just introducing cannabis to young people in a different environment. I think one of the things that I've seen, and I've tried my best to be in as many sessions as I could today, I was kind of popping in and out, And there's been a common thread, even in Tahir's session, in your session earlier, Hawa, in Dr. Shonda's session during her keynote, and it's that there's the stigma that is associated with cannabis. It makes it even more complicated for Black people and people of color to get involved in this space. One of the things that Dr. Shonda said that I think is so appropriate for many of us is when she began to get into this industry, or when she was thinking about getting into cannabis, her family, her friends were doubtful because of the stigma. So when you go to your mom and you say, "Hey, mom, I think I want to get in the cannabis industry," and that's why I started calling it cannabis and not marijuana or weed, because I wanted to put. It's not a slang, so I wanted to put that professionalism on it, because it isn't a bad thing. It's no longer a negative thing. And we're trying to overcome all the negativity that has happened in our community prior to where present time. So we just go on. What were you going to say?
To highlight perfectly, right? We've got to get to the root of the realization that within the Black community, so much has been conditioned into us to be inherently bad, even our own selves, our own hair, everything, right? So this is something that across the board historically, whether we're talking about on the continent, whether we're talking about in the Caribbean, whether we're talking about here in the United States, understanding that there is a methodology behind certain things that were taught to us to believe that they were bad or wrong. And when it comes to cannabis, you really have to understand the history of why cannabis was prohibited based off of what happened right after alcohol prohibition. And you had a bunch of law enforcement individuals that were going to be grossly out of a job. Right. So regardless of all of the medical professionals that advocated and were already utilizing cannabis as a way to treat certain issues, no matter what they said, it didn't matter because it was drowned out. Right. It was drowned out by, no, this is, anything that is substance, it can't be regulated. We need something new to regulate. So these stigmas that have also been taught to us when we look at things from a cultural standpoint, when we think about the conversations that we've had growing up and would have informed our viewpoint on this particular plant and the culture that is around cannabis, no matter where you go, the stigmas are in place, and we have to start unpacking those. Right. I have this conversation frequently because being East African and Muslim, the conversations that we have around substances, we already have this aversion to alcohol. Alcohol is something that I don't even partake in. My family, they've made decisions based on alcohol that they feel like cannabis falls into the same category. Well, does cannabis fall into the same category as, the codeine that your doctor prescribed you, or does it fall into the same category of the drink that you went and got at the bar, right? So every single thing that we have on this planet is a tool, and it's like a hammer, because you can build a house or you can bash somebody's skull in. We've seen the problem with fentanyl. We've seen this problem with opiates. We've seen so many lives have been destroyed by a medicine that was prescribed by a doctor. Without an understanding of moderation of what it can do to you. I have symptomatic sickle cell trait, and opioids was a nightmare for the majority of my life. And my foray into cannabis came from just being at a complete wit's end. What am I going to do? How am I going to manage this pain? And what is healthy for me? And then I returned to my grandmother's approach in North Sudan and South Egypt, and plant-based medicines, and the way that they approach these plant-based medicines to treat things holistically. We've got to get away from cannabis is bad, all of the stigmas that surround it. It's about the use of something. How do you use it? And until we as a community come together and say, we know that there is disparities in statistical and research-based information for people of African descent. We know this. So if we do not have research and medical studies, if we are not advancing things that are going to improve the lives of our communities, if we do not have that scientific research there, then we can't forecast for what we're going to do professionally as business owners or in any sector. So it
Right.
has to start there. And these forums and you having created a forum of this nature is so critical and so important because
Right.
it's too big for one person, right?
Hmm.
It's too
Absolutely.
big for one person. So there's so much opportunity. And with us, it's all about getting our people into position.
Yeah.
That's how I see this. That's how I
Yeah.
see the work that we do with Cannabis in Color, the work that we're doing with White Ash Group, and from an HR recruiting standpoint, we are working with companies to forecast. There's not enough research around what's going to be coming up.
Hmm.
We've got to start making strategic decisions, building coalitions of professionals with different skill sets and different backgrounds, places, and from different environments. We need to harness the diversity of the Black community because we are not a monolith. We are not a
Right.
monolith, and we have within amongst us all of the tools that we need. Speaking to
Hmm.
the HBCU, your HBCU network is your best friend. My whole family, I was Carolina A&T. My niece is at Spelman. My husband's Tuskegee. You know, you go through all of the, my father went to Howard. You go through all of these networks and you look and you see, wow, the best and the brightest
Hmm.
had an opportunity. Now
Hmm.
there's a pipeline.
Yeah.
Now there's also the best and the brightest of us that didn't make it to formal education. But
Hmm.
usually the individuals that go through the HBCU communities, they are still connected to other communities of valuable individuals that deserve to be in the sector
Yeah.
because the legacy market has yielded some of the best and brightest that are now behind bars. But these are the movers and shakers and the future leaders within the sector, and they need to be present for this.
Absolutely. And there's so much great work that's being done, in this space, in that space. And that's one of the things I feel like is a challenge for a lot of Black business, and that's Black cannabis business owners. That's something else I heard throughout the calls, or another common thread through the conversations today was that, we're not in this, all of us, for nonprofit, you know, volunteerism. This is a for-profit industry for white people and the haves. So why
Mhm.
not then? Can it be? Well, I messed up hosting this up, but anyway, what I'm saying is we should be looking at this as a business, opportunity. Certainly, that social equity work, that criminal justice work, and reform is certainly necessary, and inherently, I think all Black cannabis business owners have a responsibility to do their part to support those efforts. But then it's kind of at the same time, it's like you got to walk and chew gum at the same time. So yes, we need to right the wrongs as we are doing business, but we can't get stuck there. We also have to move forward, and we'll talk a little bit more tomorrow when we start to talk more about what the future for Black cannabis looks like, what our goals are for the industry, and how we hope to impact it. And I want you to share now with our attendees more about your organization and the work that you're doing, specifically what's going to be going on over the next couple of days here at the conference,
Mhm.
so that we can make people aware, and you can get some more attention on the work that you're doing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Christy. And I want to, thank you and your whole team for providing this platform. The focus of Cannabis in Color has, as my academic background as an economist, and then throughout the
Mhm.
work that I've done in my career around equitable access and looking at economic ecosystems for the exact purpose that you spoke about. I feel that we do too much of the heavy lifting on social justice, trying to rectify the problems that we did not create for
Mhm.
ourselves.
Mhm.
We should be focusing on how are we strengthening one another and strengthening our skills and our abilities. Cannabis in Color exists as a holistic wellness end-to-end tool for your own self-awareness of who you are in this journey, whether you are seeking to enter into the space as for a job or a career, or you are seeking to enter into the space as an entrepreneur. We are forecasting workforce projections. We are looking at what recruiters are asking for. We are looking at the interview process. We're looking at what's different. We are creating a platform that allows us to upskill and train and develop professionally individuals within BIPOC communities across the globe. That's the beauty of having the virtual platform that we have. It is the access that and relationships that we have in Canada, in the UK, in South Africa, in Nigeria, in Ghana, here in the US. We have so many opportunities to strengthen one another's professional journey by learning, whether it's through specific upskilling and specific components in specific areas, such as some of the work that we're doing to bring training to nurses and to Black nurses and Black communities so that they understand more about working with cannabis wellness and patients and as they relate to the dispensaries, or if it's just around the plant itself and understanding the science behind the plant and the basic entry level knowledge that you need to even understand the sector. We are doing work that is advancing opportunities, but more importantly, we are creating a space where you can refine yourself, understand who you are, your transferable skills. If you are a student coming out of your local community college, or you are a student coming out of an HBCU, or you are a student coming out of an Ivy League, it does where you are looking to position yourself in your career. A lot of times we don't necessarily know, and we need insights. And we utilize tools such as psychometric assessments, HPTI assessment, which is a high potential trait indicator that identifies potential for traits that have been recognized as being critical behaviors in senior leadership. We are identifying specific behavioral traits that show up at work. We are taking education. We are taking your skills that you have performed in other sectors, and we are helping you to identify what is your entry point into cannabis so that we can navigate that journey. And by working directly with recruiting firms and working directly with large companies and small companies and startups, we're able to forecast and use the data to say, in 6 months, these are the careers that we're going to be hiring for. In 2 years, these are the careers that are going to be coming up. We are working as closely as we can to understand the workforce need so that as a professional development firm, we can bring that to these communities. A lot of times we deal with imposter syndrome. We've already got the stigmas. We're carrying this constant monkey on our back about whether or not we belong in these rooms. And the answer is always that we do. But what has to happen is that we have to find ourselves at worthy first. We're unpacking a lot of trauma across the diaspora. Regardless of where you come from, you have something that is specific and individual to you. You have your specific and individual story. 9 times out of 10, we are going to be our own worst enemy. So if we can help people get to a place of understanding their value, knowing their worth, knowing what are all of the tools that they have in their toolbox, then providing that upskilling, providing coaching during the interview process, liaisoning with recruiters, we can build a workforce pipeline that will strengthen, especially the Black community, as we are approaching vast decimation of our workforce due to automation. We have an opportunity to reskill, retrain, and create opportunities in communities that may not have felt that they had very many options prior to. But this is work that cannot be advanced on our own. It's work that has to be done collaboratively. And we're extremely grateful to our partnerships with Black Canna, with BIPOC Can, with White Ash Group. We've got some phenomenal relationships with the HBCUs. We are really working hard to understand what is the need and how do we support and how do we get the best and brightest and restore a culture of merit-based advancement in the face of what has largely been a sector that has been run and propelled by nepotism. We saw in this country what happened when you allow nepotism and cronyism to creep into your productivity model. It's not good for anybody. So when we restore a culture of merit, and we say that as a community, as Black people, we just want the opportunity to be judged based on our merits and not based on your intrinsic biases and what you think it means. And also, we want companies to move away from checking a box when it comes to diversity. Diversity connects directly to your success. It connects to workforce engagement. It connects to every element of your business, innovation, every single thing, market segmentation. Diversity is not just a buzzword. It's not about what we may or may not be owed due to the treatment that has happened historically. It's about knowing that you are overlooking our value for what? What is the reason? And you need to really understand and unpack that if you are a white business or you are a non-Black business in this sector, and you are looking at the people that you have in place who are deciding who your staff is going to be. These are questions that you need to ask yourself. We must have diversity of thought, not just diversity of identity. And so that may mean that and you are looking to source certain positions at an executive level, where are you going? Who is in your network and who can you reach out to? So Cannabis in Color wants to make sure that we are positioned going into this phenomenal sector to be the resource that everybody knows they can go to for the highest quality of candidates within these diverse communities.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. So what's going on during the conference, other than the session that you had earlier today? What else does Cannabis in Color have planned for
So
attendees?
there's two big things that we're doing. So we are giving away a psychometric assessment and a joint evaluation, which is something that we utilize to help people identify their work behaviors, personality, different strengths, and things that they're good at. So that's part of our little incentive giveaway. And we are starting to take applications for our Growing Mentors program, which is a pilot cohort. It's going to be an 8-week program presented in conjunction with Black Canna magazine and as well as BIPOC Can and White Ash Group. Those 8-week sessions, we will have a couple of them that are going to be the whole cohort and all of the group. And then there will be guided work. There will be one-on-one mentorship sessions. And we have an opportunity for every single one of the verticals and the tracks that you've seen in Black Canna. So you can go directly to our exhibitor group, our exhibitor booth, and you can look at what Cannabis in Color has going on as a business, but you can also take a look at that Growing Mentor program. The link is there to submit the application for that. And we will be rolling that out closer to the end of the month.
Awesome. Yeah, that's one of the things too. I think this was in Tahir's session earlier today. They were talking a lot about the work that needs to be done. I mean, it's daunting, like you said at the top of our meeting or this meeting. That it could be daunting, but we can't do it by ourselves, and that's why it's so important for all of us to come together so we can build up our foundation and work on a plan to get as many Black people involved in this industry as possible, to go beyond just educating people, but we want to incorporate people. And
Absolutely.
I think the work that you're doing and showing how transferable skills are relatable to the cannabis industry, I think that's imperative to begin to have those conversations. And like what Dr. Shonda said earlier today, going back to the beginning and starting at the schools and our education systems and changing that pipeline around to include as many of the best and the brightest, like you mentioned, that we can. So where can our attendees go to learn more about your program, the mentorship? Is there somewhere or something that you have to share that they can access?
So you can go to cannabisincolor.com/growing-mentors, or you can visit our exhibitor booth right here at Black Canna, and you can find the link there. There's also an overview of a breakdown of each of the weeks, and you can feel free to reach out at any time to me that's Hawa, HAWA, at Cannabis in Color, COLOUR.com. We are using the Queen's English as we got our start up in Toronto. And I'm looking forward to being a resource for anyone who needs some guidance or some assistance or would just like to pick my brain. I say all the time, knowledge is free. It's the application we charge for.
Right.
So please do not hesitate to reach out at any time.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Hawa, for your time today. And everyone, we're coming to the end of the session. Again, thanks to everyone who attended, to all of our speakers, to our sponsors, to our organizers. It was our first day, you guys. So we're going to tighten up for tomorrow. We will be sending out some notes later on today and in the morning before we get started tomorrow to make sure that everyone is prepared. And as always, if you have any questions or any concerns at all, please reach out to us at Black Canna Business, and we'll make sure that we make your conference experience as positive as possible. But anyway, so that's it for us today. Thanks everyone for coming. We'll see you again, same time, 11 a.m. Central. And we'll kick off with our keynote tomorrow is Toy Hutchinson. She is the assistant to the governor on cannabis control for the state of Illinois. So that should be a really great,
Absolutely.
We'll start there, and then we'll have another day 2 full of hopefully uninterrupted, perfectly presented sessions. And hopefully any of the sessions that we missed today we will have time to load up tomorrow.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much,
Everybody,
Jesse.
see you tomorrow.
All right.